Hello and welcome to my brand new video and discussion series called The Peripheral Perspective. So in the wake of some of my recent video and podcast uploads, it's clear that the demand is there for visually stimulating videos and conversations that dig deep into human design topics. So my video for you today is all about our signposts of resistance and how, contrary to popular belief, they're not our worst enemy, but are in fact our greatest ally. Now, I realize that some of you listening to this may be brand new to human design. Some of you may be seasoned veterans. So just to kind of describe a little bit what this signpost of resistance is and how to find it, if you have ever plugged in your data to human design software, certainly the recognized software such as jovianarchive.com or mybodygraph.com, there's something that you will see that's listed as the not self theme. And the not self theme is going to be the way in which resistance will tend to show up for you predominantly. And this is really what it is that we're working with today. And before we get into the topic, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit to any of you watching who may not know who I am. So I'm a 5/1 splenic projector, a left angle cross of wishes, a quad right. And in English, what this means is that I am a natural investigator. And when I get deep enough into things and I'm ready to share, those who recognize and invite that sharing, those who recognize and invite my guidance, these are the people that I'm here for. I am a stranger of consequence. So I really am here for brand new people on my path, people that find me out of the blue, people who, for whatever reason, resonate with my message, and my message can sometimes be life-changing. I have a way of seeing possibilities and that there can be a better way. And as a quad right, I am an extreme. You can have all arrows pointing left, all arrows pointing right, and a whole host of combinations in between. And so as a quad right, I am quite futuristic in terms of my cognition. And I have a very unique way of connecting the dots. And ideally, I am somebody who is designed to have things pulled out of me. So experimenting with this format where all I'm relying on are my visual and written cues, it's a gamble. I have no idea what's going to come out of me. And being as existential as I am, it's never, it's always a recipe for disaster when I try to plan what I'm going to say, when I try to rehearse what I'm going to say. The magic happens when I'm totally spontaneous and in the moment and just seeing where the path leads. And in terms of my professional background, it's 20 years now that I've been in the field of holistic health. As of 2008, I've been a certified body talk practitioner. People come to see me for all kinds of things, whether it's acute or chronic pain, mental and emotional struggles, navigating one's life path, making big decisions. This has been a beautiful part of my career and still remains a beautiful part of my career still to this day. And in fact, I never thought that I would be working with human design in a professional capacity, but as things just happened, I am now gratefully a living your design guide, really, really enjoying helping people getting oriented to who they really are and kind of learning the ropes of their experiment. It's very fulfilling, something that I enjoy immensely. And in terms of my own educational process, I am also grateful to be a human design analyst in training. So back to our topic, the first question to really ask is, for what reason do most people turn to human design? And I mean, there are many answers to this. Human design, people can come to human design for all kinds of reasons from all kinds of walks of life. But something that I've noticed is that it tends to be that thing that shows up on your path when you have tried so many other things, seen so many other practitioners, tried so many modalities. And in spite of some things being really supportive and really amazing on your path, there's like always just something missing. There's some missing piece to the puzzle. And I'm not here to say that human design is the answer to everything. However, because this is a thing, it can be mind candy, just like everything else. But if it is actually applied in the way that it is intended, it is not a belief system, it is not a religion, there's no dogma. It just offers you something practical and logical to put into practice, to experiment with in your life that will reveal to you in its own time the true mechanics of your own design, and how when you're aligned to that, it serves to eliminate the resistance. Instead of hitting a wall, you experience ease and flow. So this next slide is really not meant to be offensive. It's quite tongue-in-cheek, but it really does go to show that sometimes we can try so many things to ease our stress, ease our suffering, but it can be fleeting at best. And again, this is not to put any modality down or to say that human design is the best and only thing, but I mean, we've all been there. We can do so many things, and in the moment, it's like, yes, that felt so good. You know, you do a meditation or even having a regular meditation practice, but all of these things that we can do to kind of bolster our well-being, it's great. But at the same time, it's like when we're not doing that thing, then sometimes we can find all of the resistance rushing back in. So when you get to that place where you're just really tired of banging your head against the wall, sometimes this is where human design ends up coming in. And I find that it's the type of thing where if you're not meant to find it, and if it's not meant to find you, you will literally never know about it. It's almost like a little pocket, a little wrinkle in the universe in time and space. And if it really is meant to kind of shake up your world and change your life, then there's nothing that's going to stop that. And so working with this whole theme of resistance, you're going to notice that with this slide, the one thing that is really underlined is this recurrence. It's recurrence, because the resistance will tend to be a recurrent phenomenon, something that even though it can abate, it can go away, it can subside, it can retreat, it will always somehow make its way back. So the manifestors, who represent about 10% of the population, somewhere between 8 and 10% of the population, they really crave peace. So for the manifestors, it's all about freedom of movement. And when they can't have that freedom of movement, when they feel suffocated, stifled, controlled, all of that, then it really brings up a lot of anger. So manifestors can struggle with recurrent anger. And this is not a character flaw. It is because built into their chemistry, built into their definition, there is life force that will exude that chemistry when they are not in alignment with who they are. For the generators and the manifesting generators, about 67 to 70% of the population, they crave satisfaction. These are beings who are really meant to use their energy in satisfying ways. And when they're not aligned to their design, they tend to struggle with recurrent frustration. Then we have the projectors, who are about 20% of the population, and projectors who carry the gift of recognition. So not only are they here to recognize others, but the most precious thing for a projector is to be recognized by the other. They crave success in their interactions with others. However, they tend to struggle with recurrent bitterness when they are not aligned. And then the reflectors, who are the most rare group, who make up only about 1.45 of the population, they crave surprise. So they are the true evaluators of any given environment, any given community, and they can, when they're not aligned to their design, tend to struggle with recurrent disappointment. Now, this is not to say that you cannot experience the signpost of another type. Of course you can. It's just that according to your configuration, according to your chemistry, the predominant way that resistance will show up will be according to your design. The thing that's really important to understand is that your signpost is not something to be victimized by. It's not a pesky thing to try and get rid of. It's not a character flaw or defect. It's not there to make your life miserable, and it is not meant to be transcended. There's this whole thing, especially with the New Age and spiritual communities, all about rising above being human, being more than human, transcending all of these supposed traits that are so bad. There's a lot of almost morality that comes into the question where everything is really this or that. And that is really what this signpost is highlighting. It is there to be a contrast. It is a really important contrast, and its purpose is to show you something critical. So a great analogy for these signposts of resistance is the smoke detector. And working with this whole concept of smoke detectors and appropriate threshold of sensitivity. So one of the things that we can surely all relate to is cooking something up in the kitchen, and then all of a sudden the smoke detector goes off and everybody jumps and the pets scramble, and then you're putting a chair and climbing up there in a panic and taking it down and pulling out the battery because everything was fine. It's almost annoying that the smoke detector went off because it was not appropriate for whatever was going on. And then what can end up happening is that in that annoyance, we can forget to put it back up there on the ceiling. We can forget to put the battery back in. And then maybe one day there is a fire and the alarm is not, the detector isn't functional, and we don't end up getting alerted to the danger, and there are consequences. So we can see how both oversensitivity and undersensitivity can both be issues, and that appropriate sensitivity. So for that smoke detector to be functional, to be in place, and if there is an emergency, that it's able to go off, it's able to alert you to the danger so that you can then make appropriate decisions and get to safety. That really is the whole point of the smoke detector that is working properly. So the whole thing here is that when we align to who we are through our strategy and authority, this is actually what serves to optimize the sensitivity threshold of our signpost of resistance, which is really akin to the smoke detector. The signpost of resistance is there to show us when there's something off that needs to be addressed. So this is why it's not something that we should strive to transcend or turn off or get rid of. It's there to provide a very, very critical contrast to alert us to something. And although I don't intend to cover this in depth in this video, each of the 4 types has its own strategy and authority that serve to align us to who we truly are. And it's when we're really living that we start to notice much more ease and flow and a great reduction in what I would say an oversensitivity. So what ends up happening before we're really living our design is that we can find ourselves oftentimes really mired in that signpost. So for example, manifestors can just be livid, enraged all the time, whether being expressed outwardly or not. So they can either explode outwards or implode inwards. For the generators and manifesting generators, that frustration can literally be a way of life, always wanting to quit whatever it is that they're doing because it's just so beyond frustrating. And goodness knows projectors can be mired in their bitterness. We can be some of the most bitter, sour lemons on the face of the planet. And reflectors can literally be drowning in their disappointment. This is not what we are meant to be doing. We are not meant to be mired in this. We're not meant to be living from that frequency. This is something that is really designed to serve us. So what happens when we really are aligned to strategy and authority is that the instances of our signposts will be fewer and far between. However, when it does show up, it will be appropriate. So instead of it being like cooking something and it going off for virtually no reason, when it does go off, it's because you know that there actually is a quote unquote emergency that needs to be handled. So let's just say you had no eyes to see, no ears to hear, no nose to smell, no mouth to taste, no hands to touch. So really zero reliance on your five senses. Your signpost of resistance is an unmistakable frequency. It's a frequency. And your ability to recognize that frequency when it shows up is truly, truly your greatest treasure. Because this is something that is designed to provide precious feedback and to help you course correct. You know that when this frequency is detected and recognized by you, that there's something that is not quite right. So, for example, for me as a projector, my signpost of resistance is bitterness. And yes, as a not self theme, when I'm not aligned to who I am, it turns me into a very, very bitter person. But by nature, by who I am truly inside, I am not a bitter person. I am somebody who, when bitterness shows up for me, can recognize that on some level, I have not been aligned to who I truly am. So whether I have not been following my strategy of waiting for recognition, waiting for invitation, whether I have been taking the conditioning in and acting upon what it is that I've been conditioned by. There are all of these different ways that you will start to notice that that signpost of resistance comes up. But instead of getting locked in it, instead of getting paralyzed by it, instead of trying to get rid of it because you don't like the feeling of it, this is something that is here to serve you in an exponential way. And I remember for so long, whenever that feeling of bitterness would come up, I would actually be ashamed of it. I would feel guilty about it. I didn't want other people to see that in me because I felt that it made me a bad person. It took so long for me to truly understand its purpose and how it's not something to run away from. It's not something to be embarrassed or ashamed about. It's something to truly embrace and to be grateful for because it is, in fact, my greatest ally. Human design gives us the tools to know if we are operating in alignment with ourselves or in alignment with the conditioning field. You will always come back to the fact that we are a binary consciousness and we are also a juxtaposition of what it is that we transmit and what it is that we receive. What it is that we receive, although it truly is there to help us cultivate wisdom in this life, until we become aware of that, this is what we are deeply conditioned and homogenized by, and it takes us out of alignment with who we truly are. What it is that we are designed to transmit uniquely to others as an outer authority. So no matter what is happening on the outside, our signposts of resistance help us reorient to who we really are and to make healthier, more fulfilling decisions in life. So if you managed to stick around for this entire video, thank you so much. Did you enjoy it? If so, the option is there to like and subscribe. More to come when the time is right. If you'd like to find me on the web, my website is www.melaniehalpert.com. Lots of healing work, human design chart overviews, coaching by design, and living your design awakening. Thanks so much, and see you next time.